as a debt collector or a hired heavy,
can
things
always
do go wrong, such as the day that I had to go and have a chat with someone. I had somebody whopped over the top of the back of their head, wrapped up into a car with Mr. T.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, drove all the way to where I live, wrapped up in the boot of a car, and when I opened the boot of the car and took the tape off, it was the wrong geezer. You know, it says quickly, oops.
Where did we both grow up? I'm actually from Ramsgate, which is a little town down southeast. And David, you're...
I'm Peckham, Marcus, as you know.
Yes, I know.
I'm Peckham, and I have a great respect for seaside doormen. You're a seaside person. You're what we call up here a candy floss cruncher. And we love you. We love you.
A southern softie, as they call us.
Kiss me quick out wearing hard nuts. It's beautiful.
Yes. Yeah, when did we meet? Was it 30? I was 28,
Yeah,
so that's 32 years ago.
32 years ago, yeah. We met
in the Ministry of Sound.
The Ministry of Sound. We both owned our own security company, yeah?
Yeah.
We both owned our own security company, and it was very handy for me to call upon him for some of the biggest jobs I've ever had, like the Krays and funeral and that, and it was very handy for him, so he could call on me for whatever whenever he needed numbers, so...
Yeah, well, quite often things crossed over as well, didn't they? People might come down from London and cause problems in my manner, if you like, and I'd ring you and find out who was doing what.
Fighting is something. It's the same as any other sport. You can't get good at it unless you do it a lot.
Yep.
And Seaside Doormen, in the summer, they have got 52-seater coaches of men going down to Margate to get all day long and have fights.
You sit and work it out, right? It's like, how many fights? Let's say an average person who's, a normal person, how many fights does he have in his life? He might have 5 or 6 fights in his whole life, right? When I was working as a young doorman on Margate Seafront, for starters, there was no big numbers of doormen, there was no radios, there was no licences, but I was having probably 3 fights a night, right? And when I started off, I was only working sort of 3 nights a week, but then I was working 6 nights a week as a full-time doorman, and having even more situations to deal with. And when you think about it, if you only had 1 fight a week, and over a 10-year period, there's 500 fights, But when you're having 10 fights a week, and I've done it for 40 years, so you had that.
You're also being very modest, Marcus. I know you've had more than 3 fights a night.
Oh yeah, it's a lot. But I'd just rather than
Saturday night on Margate Seafront.
Oh yeah, it's more like 3 fights a minute.
With 500 coaches of 52-seater drunk Londoners. You had a good 10, maybe 15 proper full-on scraps per day and per night.
Yeah, the weekends were the worst. The weekends we used to get all the coach parties. We would get on average during the summer 70 big coaches come down from London. Now bearing in mind in the 80s, before it all got a bit friendly when all the pills come out and all that, but in the 80s when all the football violence was going on, we wouldn't just get coach parties of geezers. We'd get coach parties of Millwall, coach parties of West Ham, coach parties of this and that. So when they all suddenly bumped into each other, they come from different parts of London for a day out to Margate. But when they suddenly bumped into each other in Broncos on the seafront or whatever, it was like a free-for-all. So it was this coach party fighting this coach party, and then there'd be 4 or 5 doormen trying to sort out those 100 people. It was awful. It was hard work. The first serious fight I ever got in, I was actually 13. Right, and it sounds really silly. You think I'm a punch up at school? No, I used to knock around. When I was 13, I was 5'11". I was already sneaking in the pubs. Right, I was at 13, and I used to hang around with lads that were about 5 years older than me. And anyway, one day we were outside this bar in Ramsgate, and it kicked off between these 2 little crowds. And this fellow pulled a knife out and stabbed my mate in the stomach. Yeah, and I didn't even think about it. I just ran into the middle of the fight, and I grabbed the knife off the fella. I broke the knife in half and threw it across the road, and then I bashed him, and then I dragged my mate to the hospital. So that was the first, I would say, serious moment in my life at 13.
I was a late starter with the fighting, Marcus, to be quite honest. My biggest accolade was I once sparred with Lenny McLean in front of everyone. So he's standing there in all his glory going, well, who wants to spar with me then?
Oh, God.
And I thought, wow, there is an opportunity to actually get in the boxing ring with Lenny McLean, you know what I mean? Like, wow.
Legend, yeah.
And he can't really do anything because
there's a ref there.
He's sparring and he's got big sponges tied to his hand, wow. And I've got to have a go. I went, I'll have a go. He went, you got someone to sit on your shoulders then, Litland? I said, I'll have a go. I had the best kit you ever see. It was a nutty, wicked kit. I just weren't any good at it. So I gets in the ring. I wasn't actually really nervous. I was excited to actually be sparring with Lenny McLean.
Did he clump you?
It wasn't, listen, ding, ding, and this is the truth. As soon as it started, it went ding, he just went, wah! And I was like, wow.
We're quite prepared for that.
Yeah, the veins popping. I just didn't know what to do. And he just ran across the ring, and I was trying to say to my legs, run. And my legs were going, I'm nothing to do with it. I was like, no, and I just done the right thing like that, and he just went, wah, bang.
Jesus, he's a big
and
guy.
this hand hit that hand, that hand hit that hand, and I knocked myself out. So I actually done 17 seconds
With Lenny McLean.
But 10 of them was a count. 1, 2, so that is most probably why I haven't showed up about it to anyone.
I think that's funny. That's hilarious. Though. We used to have, I remember guys coming for jobs as a doorman, and they were like really good in the gym on a bag. You know, fantastic. You watch the geezer work a punch bag, you think, Christ, he's going to be a really good doorman. But then when you get a coach party, kicks off. Where's he gone? You know what I mean? It's a different sort of person to do that job. And you do get, it's amazing what you can get used to, though, when you are working, like you said, in that seafront situation. It's amazing what you can get used to. You know, it becomes the norm. You know, so we've got to fight another coach party. You know what I mean? It's like
That's right, yeah, well, for someone that isn't used to that, you and 2 of your mates fighting 52 drunk geezers is a nightmare.
Yeah.
But because you get it every single day,
every week.
it ain't really hard. It's like anything.
Well, it becomes,
the more you do it,
you become better at it.
Yeah, it's like robbing the bank, anal. Yeah, the more you do it, the easier it is. I don't think you can learn to have bottle.
No.
I actually believe you're born with that.
Yeah, normally
you
the
must
basic.
probably had a little bit more than your fair share of that, as I am fully aware. But you can't learn to have
No, you can't make
a
someone brave.
situation like that.
Yeah.
You might learn all the moves on a bag.
Yep.
You might feel braver with your mates beside you, but when the shit's a fan, you can't learn to go, I'll have a bit of that.
Yeah,
You
because
can't learn
it's a
that.
reaction. It's an actual reaction. It's a spontaneous reaction when something kicks off. Some people will run into a burning building, some people run away from it. Do you know what I mean? It's that type of thing. We had a coach party one night that stormed the doors of the bar we was in, and there was only 2 of us working. And we ended up out in the street fighting with them in an open area, which is never good. And one particular guy, I think I'd hit him 3 times, knocked him on his 3 times, but he just kept getting up. And you're in the middle of, like, everyone's trying to get to you, to, you know, hit you, to punch you, to kick you. And I went to do a roundhouse kick on this fella, and he caught my foot. So I'm standing there on 1 foot, and I'm a leg in the air, and he's holding on. He's as shocked as I was. He's caught his foot, and he's like that. Right, but I couldn't reach him with my fist because it's not as long as my leg. And so I just rammed my hands straight into his eyes as hard as I could, and his eye just came straight out on his cheek. And needless to say, he went down very hard, and he didn't get up after that one. But that night particularly, I mean, we were fighting for our lives. I mean, literally 2 of us fighting a coach party in the street. And I think it was only the fact that about 6 of the locals saw what was going on out the window and then came out in the high street to help us. And sort of that's the only thing that broke it up, I think. Otherwise, we'd have both ended up probably dead or seriously injured in hospital.
I've actually been shot, haven't I?
Yes.
So that was the worst thing that actually happened to me on the door of a nightclub. I was shot. So he shot me in the leg and blew my ankle out in the road.
And you was quite young then, weren't you?
I was a very young man then, yeah. What actually happened was, had I known for half a second it was an enemy or anything, a car pulled up, a yellow Escort Mexico, black vinyl roof, pulled up about 30 foot away. I went, Courtney, Dave Courtney. And whether he could have shot me from there, I doubt it, because shooting someone is not as easy as it looks on the telly.
No, it's not.
As you know.
No,
yeah?
yeah.
And, 9 times out of 10, you'll actually miss a whole human body.
Yeah, you've got to be good.
But I didn't know he was going to do that. So I went, yeah, and then walked all the way down to the car, all the way to the window. As I actually was looking down like that to say, yeah, I see him going up like that. And as the gun is pointing at me, he's pointing at that, and I'm thinking, oh, you know what I mean? What? And he's actually aiming for my leg, but I didn't realise that. So he's gone, bang. But in my eyes, he's gone...
Yeah, slow motion, yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh, no, yeah. And then he's gone down, I'm thinking, oh, no, I'm going to get it in the stomach, get it in the arm. Oh, no, he's going to shoot me. Don't do that. And I'm thinking to myself, jump. I don't know what the fuck I was going to do. Jump. I don't know what the fuck I was going to do, but I did jump. And then he's come down and shot me in the leg.
Right.
And what it actually felt like with something as big as you creeping up behind me with a great big sledgehammer and going on my ankle. And because both feet were off the floor at the time, it took my ankle and my foot right upside down like that, and I come down and landed on my face. Boom.
Oh, Dave, you've been known for carrying your knuckle duster around. Do you still do that?
No. Shall I tell him? Shall I tell him the new law?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Right.
The law of knuckle dusters
Yes.
has changed in September, which means you cannot own a knuckle duster in your house as an ornament even.
No.
That's 6 months. But I am a firm believer, as you know, and I genuinely feel the reason that knuckle dusters became so popular, that was my weapon of choice. Right? The reason being is I firmly believe that you have to be prepared to do the prison sentence, that your choice of weapon carries. And if you choose to carry a knife, that means every fight you have, right, you risk getting 13,
For murder,
20
yeah.
years.
Yeah,
Every fight you
'cause
have.
you can
I have
kill
too
someone
many
easy, yeah.
fights
Yeah.
to risk them not dying on me. So that, right, I don't care who you are in the world, a knuckle duster or a smack in the mouth of a knuckle duster, you only need one punch going that way to connect and you win the fight, as you know.
Marcus, did you have a weapon of choice?
A weapon of choice?
Yeah.
No, never. How I met the Krays is I then had most probably the biggest doorman company in definitely London, I would say Great Britain at the time. I had a couple of thousand men working for me up and down the country, and they actually wanted to know who this Dave Courtney fella was. I then got to visit Reg to sort out contracts of whatever it made. He was going to get his little bit, and we struck up a friendship straight away, and I then visited him once or twice a week for the next 20 years. You know, I've become very, very close with him. I went to visit Ronnie in Broadmoor a good few times. That's how Reggie asked me to actually do the funeral for Ronnie, and I was their legs and arms, as you know,
Yeah.
for the next 20 years. Anything they wanted doing, and I was a young man and eager to please, and had the manpower to do it, and I'd done more or less anything he asked me to do, which, in hindsight, I wouldn't have.
Yeah.
But I was easily impressed.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, it's like you're known associates. You know?
Big words. It allows the authorities, that known associates,
Yeah.
to get away with an awful lot of not right behaviour.
The main one I can think of is like the Krays funeral. When you got asked to do the security on Ronnie's funeral, and we'd only sort of known each other probably a year or 2 years or something like that, and it was quite early days, you know. Sort of, but you got the contract for that, and it was a big job. You had to get hundreds of people together to do that, which you did. And you asked me as well, and I brought another fella up with me, Andy Copez, who absolutely doted on it. He was like a real fan of the Krays, had all their books and everything, and I think you actually got arranged to get him to go and do one of the visits in prison as well, which made his day. But again, you know, because we appeared in the papers and on the TV, all of a sudden we was like, we had this big sort of focus on us, you know. So it wasn't just Marcus the doorman who, you know, they were looking at in Margate. It was like, what's he doing up there? What's he doing up there with all these gangsters and villains? So, and I know you had exactly the same, and probably 10 times worse, to be honest, for yourself. Oh, certainly it caused so much attention for me, and like I said, it was totally the wrong attention.
Well, you're right. You can imagine what it done for me. That was the police's. It's come out in court. The very first visual proof of organised crime. That's how they looked at that funeral.
Yeah.
You know, criminals are supposed to down little dark alleys with a collar up, no pictures, no comment and all that. And I was standing there with 150 of what I thought was the most tasty I knew in the whole country.
It was.
Hand-picked Mr. Liverpool, Mr. Margate, Mr. Newcastle, Mr. Glasgow, Mr. Manchester. I had the hand-picked firm, which at the time, a lot of them didn't actually get on with each other, and that was that's why we needed security for the funeral, because there was going to be an awful lot of people there that weren't actually on par with each other.
On the same side, as it were.
On that day, luckily for me,
a lot of respect was shown, wasn't it?
Yeah, for the monarch of the underworld, you know, Ronnie Krays' funeral, everyone behaved himself. But after that, they thought it was one criminal organising every other criminal. So they thought in Great Britain, all to come and work together for the celebration death of another criminal.
Wasn't
that was
where
their
you got
first.
Yellow Pages of the
Yellow
Underworld. Yellow Pages of the Underworld,
yeah. But the very next day ruined my life. I come out in the newspapers and I was celebrity gangster, you know, heir to the throne, like, which really weren't my thing. I was running a security company like you,
Yeah.
and thought, with the amount of press I'm going to get for doing Ronnie's funeral, this has got to be good for me.
When I
The
started
more
getting-
famous
yeah.
you get for being naughty, the less naughty you can be.
Exactly that, yeah. But I mean, I wasn't even naughty. I was just doing what I did, which was security.
Of course you were.
So all of a sudden, you know, we're not that sort of naughty. Naughty-ish. Naughty-ish.
The very first time I met Charlie Bronson, the very first time I met Charlie Bronson, I was in the special unit at Belmarsh. I was in prison on remand, on my very first night, for a £5 million importation charge of cocaine, where I was arrested at Heathrow Airport.
I
It was
remember.
my very first night, I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. And I was in the special unit at Belmarsh, which is, wow. And I was just lying there looking out the window at 2 in the morning going, wow, what the trouble am I in now? And for no other reason than I took a little bit of his glory. Everyone's going, Courtney's niche, you know, a little bit of thing. And I'm lying in bed, and this is a very good impersonation of Charlie. I'm lying in bed and I heard, Courtney. Hell, man. Courtney. I thought, I've only got one chance here. There might be someone else in here called Courtney. You know, that's the only chance I had. Courtney said, I'm going to bite an hole in your chest and suck the life out of you. No, man, I'm not frightened of voices on the phone or anything like that, but there's the time I was frightened. There's one time I was frightened, I remember now. Yes, there's the time I was out. And I could hear the whole prison all going, Bronson stuck it on Courtney, Bronson stuck it on Courtney, all talking through the windows. 500 people all going, oh, what's going to happen here? I'm like, oh, God. Oh, come on, mate, it's me, Davey. Oh, because I had no idea that in solitary confinement, I was never ever going to bump into this man that spoke like that.
Yeah.
Right, I had no idea I weren't going to bump into him in the library, the gym, the canteen, the church. Right, had I known that I would have never bumped into him, I would have gone to the window with a different, hey, who you talking to? I would have done that. I didn't know. I was new. Samuel fell out in front of everyone. I can't even deny that because 500 people heard it, you know what I mean? But that's how I met Charlie. And since then, through joint friends that we have and all that, you know what I mean? And I'm a little bit of a Charlie. I promote him, yeah. I feel for him. I'm not a fan. I actually feel for the.
Yeah, you got a bit of empathy for him, yeah.
And we became friends afterwards. I've had both of his weddings that he got married in. I had the reception at my pubs.
Because then he used to draw in pictures and things and send you
He's a
little,
fantastic
he's a really good
artist.
artist, isn't he? Yeah.
Beautiful artist. Having a large selection of doormen working for you, what that was, in my eyes, it was a job centre for a load of naughty men. Right? Now, if you needed your debts collected, a car repossessed, someone given an hiding to, somebody thrown out of a place that was squatting in, you might not know anyone to do that. But the doorman,
Oh, we always did.
we did. And because we had so many doormen working for us, we had an army of naughty men. So whenever, it was a job centre for them. Whenever you wanted, people would come and ask me to do something, I knew someone to bash him up, to get your car repossessed, to throw the squatters out. So I was involved in.
I wouldn't call that crime, though.
No, we don't
yeah,
call it crime.
no.
Listen, we're in charge. We call it. We've got our Robin Hood hat on.
Yeah.
We're helping.
Yeah.
Right? We're debt collecting. You know what I mean? You owe it to him. I'm trying to get it back.
Yeah, if someone owes a debt, then they should pay it. And if you could, in those days, you didn't have to have a licence to do debt collecting, did you? You just had to be big, darken someone's
And
doorway.
if my job was kicking someone's front door down and going in and getting the money off them with whatever way I had to get the money off of them, I kept my Robin Hood out on and justified it with myself because he owes him X amount of pounds. I'm not robbing him, I'm just getting his money back. So one person
making it right.
would call you the devil himself.
Yeah.
And another person would call you an angel. And after doing the Krays funeral and everyone in England knew what I looked like, I could no longer kick a door down.
No.
I could no longer punch someone in the head because they'd go, it was Dave Courtney. I know him, I've seen him on the telly.
I did the same as you. I did debt collecting. I did some repossessions. I got squatters out of people's
I
houses.
know, you did it for me.
Yeah, but I don't look at that. That to me is that's not criminal activity. It might
It's
be
not
bending
criminal
the law a little bit, but it's to me it's just a just thing. I mean, yeah, I went to one of my friends had a place in Brighton, and the squatters it was his granddad's house. He died While it was in probate and being sorted out, squatters moved in. They broke in. They didn't, legally get in, but they registered the squat and they put a big sign in the window. You cannot forcibly remove us from this property. They got electric turned on in their name, everything. And he went to a solicitor and they said, "I was going to take over a year to get them out." Well, it took us about 10 minutes.
If that. I mean, like I say, as a debt collector, things do go wrong in whatever you do as your chosen job. As a debt collector or a hired heavy, things do go wrong, such as the day that I had to go and have a chat with someone. I had somebody whopped over the top of the back of their head, wrapped up into a car with Mr. T.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, drove all the way to where I live, wrapped up in the boot of a car for my little speech to him before he goes to court in the morning. And when I opened the boot of the car and took the tape off, it was the wrong geezer. It says quickly, oops. I have actually gone round to do some debt collecting with people, thrown the garden furniture through the back windows, run in, grabbed, I told you, didn't you? Got him on the settee, I'm going whack, 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 and he's like, no, 37B.
He's next door.
37B. Right, sorry. Regrets. I've got a few regrets, yeah.
Put my hourly rate up.
I have woke up with some very ugly women. They're my regrets. I haven't got an awful lot of regrets, no. No.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I've got any regrets either. Not really. Should have retired a bit earlier.
Have you retired? Yes, I have.
Yes, I have.
One bank who didn't give a toss for their customers. They were told if an armed robber comes in, don't matter if there's customers there, drop down behind the counter. They can't shoot through a bulletproof screen. What about the customers? Customers got to take their chances.